Welcome back, Chiefs fans. This is the RGR Breakdown. Generally run this on Sunday nights, and we're going to get into the thick of it. A lot of news around Kansas City this week. What does it do to change the way they want to draft? A lot of options are coming down. And right now, we're going to run through another scenario to get your Kansas City Chiefs reloaded and ready for 2022. Welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back. It's a great day to have a mock draft, right? And that's what we're going to do today. A lot to get done. I know there was a lot of news and a lot of back and forth this week in Chiefs Kingdom about the direction that they're going, the coaching staff, etc. I do think Sam Madison's departure is a change that may affect what we see on the field in terms of not only scheme, but definitely success. I look forward to that. Sam Madison's a good coach. I hope that a new blood will help with that. We will address that in this draft. If you are new, make sure you like the channel, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit the bell notification so you get more. If you have not been with us to this point and you're brand new, very much welcome. But we do this all year round. So Sundays are going to be right now during the draft season, mock draft night. And we'll do some of these live. This one I'm pre-recording because I don't know that I'll make it back in time for the live. So this is the scenario that we have to go through, and that's what it is. This is not what exactly I would do. This is not what I think the Chiefs will do. From all my sources and everything, I don't have anybody that's deep inside the front office that can tell me, hey, we're leaning this way. That's not what this is about. This is to actually, for us together, to be the front office and do what they do, and that is run scenarios. We're going to go through a number of options here that we could see happen and how this team and we think this front office should react to it, both with my guidance tonight and then live in the coming weeks when we do this together as a whole on a live stream. So with that said, we're going to jump in. We're going to stick with the engine that we used last time for now. We will be moving that around, but for ease of use, we're going to get into that. And I think we'll set it up. We'll run through the top 5 picks is my goal. And we're going to run that fast. So as we get here, it is at the top of the draft. We'll kick that off and we'll see what falls to the Kansas City Chiefs. At the end of the day, it is going to be about what's available versus what fits that you do have to try to get accomplished. And that's really important. You can't get all the way away from it and say best player available. If that best player happens to be a quarterback, the Kansas City Chiefs are not going that direction when it comes to round one. Now, I'm not going to entertain trades yet because I think pre-free agency, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm just going to hold off and we're going to decline everything. But it is decent to get an idea of what this machine thinks some of the offers could be. So as we get here, we see that there are a number of options. Now, obviously, the needs are heavy on the defensive side of the ball, but the wide receiver is the one position that we feel, hey, they could go out and get somebody. As we look at this and the way that this draft is falling, we have options at a number of positions. My favorite linebacker in the draft, at least as of now, he and Coby Dean have been going back and forth, but they're both available, Devin Lloyd and Coby Dean, in this scenario. Now, that would round out your middle tier of the defense and give you something to lean on. But there's also other things that you can get done that fit a little bit more immediate need. And I think there are linebackers farther down that are going to help you. So we're going to set aside, as difficult as it is for me because I love the way Devin Lloyd plays, that we're going to set that aside. There's Drake London on here. You've seen me take him before. We're going to skip that. David Bell, a little bit higher than I normally see him in some of these mocks. Jahan Dotson just went off the board ahead of us. And that does give you an idea about where he is. And I do think he and London are right there in that same area. I have Dotson right now as my number 5 wide receiver on the board. But this is a clear need and a guy that I think is underrated to this point. I do believe we have a chance to see him here at 30. Cameron Thomas is a huge edge. He is a classic Spags edge. Gigantic man. He's got good reach, great motor. He is powerful. He is not the bendy edge rusher, the Von Miller type. You're not going to see him come around the corner leaning into a guy that looks like he should be halfway on the ground. That's not his game. But his game will work and will help Spags out. And right now we understand that Dave Cullen is in the house. if they were thinking about possibly going to a 3-4 eventually because Collins coached 3-4, this guy, Cameron Thomas, is an option. There's another one we'll talk about later if he is still available or in the next draft. So we're going to select Cameron Thomas, the edge from San Diego State, and put him onto this Chiefs roster. Now you have bookends, assuming that you're going to re-sign Melvin Ingram. I do think that Frank Clark is going to be gone, so Melvin Ingram would be the re-signing choice there, is my guess. Again, we don't know for certain. Still getting some trade offers, a little bit of a trade up, people trying to get out of some trades. Makes perfect sense as we go along. And now we're sitting at the situation that we thought we might be, where the edge rushers have gone off the board. Glad we got one. That worked out pretty well. And you see here now we're a little bit farther down. Ebiketie, Myjai Sanders would still be available, Drake Jackson. So that's good to know in these scenarios, should it not work out that way. But what we see at the top here, Christian Harris is another very good linebacker, very downhill and aggressive. I like that. You see the tight ends here in Likely and McBride, who I have McBride as my top tight end. If the Chiefs were going to bolster it, I don't think the second round pick is a good way to do it. It seems a little rich for a backup for Travis Kelce. I think there are going to be other options later. And I think, honestly, they're going to look in free agency quite heavily. So what does that bring you here? It brings you Christian Watson, a wide receiver on the rise. I don't have a second round grade on him as much as I do like what he brings. He's long and tall and speedy. At least we think he's going to test very, very well. And I just don't have the production that I really wanted. And I'm a little bit cognizant of the transition that it's going to be for him to get into the NFL. So I'm going to hold off on that. Brings us a little bit further down here. And I'm just trying to show you guys the options. There are a number of them. And because we've addressed the biggest issue, at least on my board, I think it opens up the possibilities. And so, meaning that you feel that you have to get your defense sorted out. The safety group here is probably not what I'm looking for. The linebacker group is solid. At this point in the cornerbacks, we are down a little bit. So I'm not seeing the talent that I'm really looking for. Darian Kendrick, I think, is a solid player. Could they go with him at 62? It's possible. That's right about the area that I have for him. There are some other guys farther down that I think actually have more upside. And I think some of these rankings are a little cattywampus, to tell you the truth. I don't believe Darian Kendrick's going to be somebody that ends up above Coby Bryant, but we'll get to Coby here later. So for now, in this scenario, the way that it's falling, we need somebody that can play some coverage at the linebacker spot, or we need a safety. And I'm not seeing a ton of talent at the safety spot. So it brings us to these particular linebackers. Darren Beavers is a downhill guy, not a coverage option, in my opinion. Let's see who else we have available. Quay is going to be there. Christian Harris, we talked about. Brian Asamoah can play some coverage. Damian Clark can play some coverage. Chad Muma can play some coverage. I took Chad last week, so we're not going to go with that. We're going to put the long, tall Damon, however you're going to pronounce it, Clark. And if I ever talk to him, I will find out exactly how to pronounce that correctly. From LSU. He's long, tall, and he has the ability to not only play downhill, but to turn around and run. I think that would be a nice third player to add to the linebacker group with Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, knowing that you're going to move on from Anthony Hitchens in this offseason. Now, I don't think that's anything unexpected in any way. A lot of trade offers here in the third because Washington apparently doesn't want to stay in their pick. I think that's interesting. Not sure that's going to be true. I think they'll be trying to select as many good players as they possibly can. And as this comes down here, what we're finding, Pittsburgh wants out as well. Myjai Sanders stayed at the top of the list there for a bit. Chad Moom is still there. So as we get to the Chiefs pick, very similar scenario to what we saw last week in that Chad Muma would have been here, so we could have gone linebacker in the third and been fine. My only point was I'd already taken that player, and I'm trying not to take the same players every week. This is way too high for a running back. As much as I like Kyren Williams, he brings a great, I think, well-rounded game to the NFL. He's a little undersized. I think the Chiefs understand how that goes. I'm not going out on a limb there for him. A couple of tight ends that have some oomph to them. 3-4 tight ends that I like. And we're down in the safety group. I don't think there's anyone that I still have rated here as a 90 for a top 100 pick. And that is correct. My safeties have gone off the board. Still have the corner group that we can draw from. And I think this is probably most likely where I'm going to go, because I'm going to have players in this group that are more uh, positively rated, shall we say, than what we see here. So Coby Bryant is the guy that plays opposite Sauce Gardner and has gone a little bit under the radar. Is he as good? Is he as sticky? No. Is he solid? Can he do a bit of everything? Is he the type of corner that the Chiefs like in playing off man, playing in zone, being aggressive, being a leader, and being dependable? Yes, he is all those things. And I think, honestly, he will probably be a third-round selection. So that makes sense to me. We're putting Coby Bryant from the Cincinnati, former alma mater of Travis Kelce, so he can add a little bit of the next generation, shall we call it, and get him in there. So we've gotten a couple of things done here. A lot of trade offers rolling through. Chiefs are in a popular position because this pick 102 is what they got in response for the Chicago Bears hiring Ryan Poles away from the Chiefs front office. So they've got an additional selection. We will see through free agency, should they pick up any other comps. I'm not sure that they will. I'm not depending on it. So we're going to act like this is going to be it for the top 100. And I'm counting 102 as though it's a top 100 pick. Now we address the cornerback position. Again, safeties, not the group that I'm looking for here. We're back into the running backs. And the way that it's come off the board, there's the second, third tier of linebackers that we don't have to go for. So who could catch some passes at this point? I think another Cincinnati player that makes a lot of sense is Pierce. I think he's underrated in terms of his play speed. I think he's going to test very well. We are pre-combine this particular scenario. So I think he would be an option. He's up there. My guy, Shakir, is going to be here probably at the 5th pick. So we're going to let that lie, and we're not going to look at the wide receivers yet. So at this point, they don't have a top pick, a top guy rated on their board for what they're looking for. We could double up and give them multiple wide receivers, because Kyle Phillips is a beast. And if you want that wiry kind of underneath player, Edelman, like that style, I'm not saying he's got that kind of explosiveness or change of direction yet. I won't know that until after the draft. But Kyle Phillips has that era of movement skills. We'll see how he tests, and we'll confirm that when we get there. He would be an option. I expect him to be probably either right around here or in the 4th round. That's my thought. That's where I have him ranked right now. That may change. We'll see how that goes forward. A lot of you asked me about Jojo Doman last week. I don't have a top 100 grade on him. This system does. I'm not gonna jump into that right away. Lindstrom is an interesting guy too, for O-line depth, but I don't see the tackles that would make me think, oh, you need to bring in competition for Lucas Niang. So I think what we're going to do is rely on what we know and take a look at the tight ends. Dulcich had a great Senior Bowl week. We don't want to rely on that too much, but it is important. And I think what we want to look at, I just saw him here a second ago. Was it Pierce? No, it wasn't Pierce. We're going to go wide receiver next. So we want to take, where did he go? We want to take another possibility for a rush end. Lucetta is one. He had a great Senior Bowl. Not listed as a linebacker there. Ebiketie was the other guy with him. And I think we want to double up on somebody that can get to the quarterback. So we're going to put Lucetta on this roster, see what he can grow into. And I think there are good options there. They're going to go along. We're going to take one more selection here as we decline further trades. And this is where we're going to pick up a guy that most likely is going to be one of the slot receivers on my board. And that's okay. I do think the Chiefs are going to address wide receiver in free agency. So I don't think we have to worry about the type of receiver they go after. Now here, after all that, Alec Pierce is down here. Pierce is a guy that could line up at the X, can play outside. He is more explosive than he has been rumored to be. Let me put it that way. But the two guys that I like here at 133 are also available in Shakir Khalil from Boise State. I think you guys are really going to like him. He's great with the ball in his hands. His yak, he can do the end arounds. He's got a little bit of everything. And because we're not going into the deeper rounds, you're not going to see Jarrett Stearns, who is going to be, I think, a 5th round pick probably. We're not going to go his direction. I think what we'll do is we'll double up on guys that can play multiple roles, and we'll take Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce from the Cincinnati team, again, now as we get to where do you draw from? Does the where you play give you an edge? In some places it does. And for me, if you played on a team that goes to the college football playoff, you've been through a little bit better competition, a little bit more stress that you might run into as a Chief. A number of things that I think make the transition better. This has wrapped up, and we're going to review it. We did not trade, but we came back with a different haul than we got last time. This was defensive centric. We assume that there's going to be offensive addressing of needs in free agency. So this worked out. Cameron Thomas, big edge from San Diego State that I think you guys will really like. I'll try to do a breakdown on him as well. Damian Clark from LSU, long, tall, powerful, can turn and run, can definitely do the zone drops that we've seen Nick Bolton do. And he would be the third linebacker in this crew that can overhang as well and play that Sam spot. I really like that as a fit. I don't know that they're going to want to spend another second round pick on an LB. But again, this is scenario. This is not prediction. And we come back with a couple of Cincinnati players in Coby Bryant, the two corner there that I think will fit in with L'Jarius Sneed pretty well. Jesse Laquetta, a linebacker type that can put his hand down and can rush. And then Alec Pierce, a solid, good-sized, more explosive than he looks wide receiver that has a knack for making plays. I think that would round out, especially if there's a free agent wide receiver addition, that would do a lot for you. So that's really what it comes down to is, can you address your needs? Could this fall this way? What does this look like? That's where we're at today. And I think that this is another scenario that we're going to have to tuck in the back of our heads. We'll come back with it, obviously, every week. But post-combine, a couple of things will change as well because the more explosive players will rise. I'm going to keep going through that. But like and sub and hit the bell notification so that you become one of us and get on the Rogue Nation. If you want to become a member, that's how you get into the Discord and all the member benefits, extra videos, and those kind of things. So check those out as well. I appreciate your time and thank you for the support. This is a scenario that I actually think could be kind of on the table, this type of thing where it's defense, 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 and then driving up the floor of the wide receiver group, the tight end group, maybe a deep tackle that you feel can grow into the swing that will be your backup across the board. Those are the kind of options that I do expect. So we're going to go through all of these scenarios every week. Don't miss one of them. We're going to be here. Now, tomorrow night is the Q&A live Monday night at 6 Central. So don't miss that. Thank you guys for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. And we'll talk to you next time.